How are you today? It's a beautiful day. I'm here in a park inside of, I think I'm somewhere outside of Poughkeepsie, New York, actually. And I was walking towards a view on the Hudson and stumbled across this. Oh, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see behind me. These ruins of this house. And as always, very drawn to it. I did an episode a bunch of months back about the ruins of a castle, and this is kind of the ruins of a house. Very cool setting here, but the devotion that I was going to chat about today was based on Matthew. And I've been working through Matthew chapter 6 in these devotions over the last couple of weeks. Actually, last 2 or 3 weeks. And got to Matthew 6, verse 33 and 34, and it pretty much stopped me in my tracks. Because if you're like me, maybe you were born and raised in the church, and born and raised in studying the Bible, maybe memorizing a few verses, and Matthew 6:33 was kind of a core verse for me. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. And I was like, okay, definitely learned that in Sunday school. Learned it growing up, taught it to my kids as they were growing up. It's one of the verses that they can recite by heart, which is pretty cool. But I'm studying this Matthew 6 chapter, and I get to like verse 25 or 26, and Jesus is talking about a couple of different things, but he's talking about kind of food and water, basic necessities, clothing. And it got interesting because as I started to research this verse and the verse following it, which is, so do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. I could probably do a separate devotion just on that verse, but the interesting thing about Matthew 6:33 is Jesus isn't talking about like, hey, seek whatever you want. Seek God first, and then whatever you want will be added unto you. That's not really what it's about. It's more about seeking God, and then all of these things will be added unto you. When he says all of these things, the verses prior talk about food, clothing, shelter, the necessities of our lives. And I started thinking about that, and of course, when you're inside a kind of a place like this, it gets you to thinking about what are the necessities of our lives, right? Yes, shelter, of course, food, clothing, right? Water. These are necessities. And as I'm standing in the midst of this rubble here, and I see all of this just basically it's collapsed around itself, it got me thinking about like, okay, what are the necessities in my life? What am I really talking to God and asking God about? And it makes you think, right? God, what am I praying for today? Who am I praying for today? And then you look at this and how many of the things that we're praying for are set to be, I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. How many of the things that we're praying for don't last? How many things that we're praying for are going to look like this soon, right? I don't know what it is for you. And I say that often because every single one of us have these very personal and incredible relationships with God. And when you look at it, when you take stock of your prayer life, I guess you could say, right? What am I praying for? What am I asking God for? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Okay, what are the things that's going to be, what's going to be added unto me? Food, clothing, yes. Shelter, yes. Okay, next, go to the things that maybe we don't need, but we want, right? It gets challenging at that point, right? Is God going to give me, I don't know, fill in the blank? Do I need that, or is it something that I want, right? There's a little, kind of just a subtle rub right there. But you have to think about it. You have to take stock of what your prayer life looks like when you're asking for these things? And are you asking for things that are going to look like this in a bunch of years, or maybe even a month or two? Or are you asking for things that are going to further the kingdom of God and further your relationship with God? And then are those things going to cause you to be a reflection of Jesus as you go about your day? Man. Yeah, I didn't even think of going there today during this devotion, but that's where we are. So that's where we are. So it's an interesting conversation to have, right? Like, seek ye first. What am I seeking? Am I seeking things? The Bible talks about treasures that are stored up in heaven. Am I seeking those treasures? Or am I seeking things that are going to fall apart and collapse around me? And for years, I was in this boat of God this, God that, God, I think I need this, I think I need that. And as soon as you say, I think I need, that should put up a red flag as well. Because do we need it really? I don't know. So anyway, that's kind of the thought for today. Think about needs versus wants. Think about how God interacts with you in your life, in your prayer life. And more importantly, think about how what you're asking for, right? What it all looks like. And when you have that conversation with God, do you think he's on the same page? It's tricky, isn't it? It's a really interesting conversation. And I think when you have that conversation and start thinking that way, there may be points where you're just like, wait a minute. Do I really need that? Am I really asking God for the right thing here? Yeah, those are hard. Those are hard conversations. But I think they're needed and necessary because God, I think, is trying to strip away the junk around us, strip away the wants in our hearts and in our minds and in our souls so that we can have needs. What is our need? Our need is God first, right? Jesus in our lives. And we've been chatting a lot in Matthew about motives of the heart. Where does our heart lead us? Does our heart lead us towards this, or does our heart lead us towards God? And maybe that's where I wanted to take this today. Yeah, it's fun to kind of go on these little verbal journeys, isn't it? But God starts to speak to you and you're like, oh, wait, I don't need that. No. God, move in me. Direct my heart, direct my motives, my path to what you want me to have. So that's the question today. What does God want in your life? And when he puts that in your life, how do you use it to bring him glory? I know. Good one. Man, that's a convicting question for me as well. Okay. Is it your talent? Is it your job? Is it your money? Is it your compassion? Is it your conversation? I don't know. Again, I can't answer that question for you, but you can answer that question. And if you can't answer that question, seek God even further in your life to help you understand your needs versus your wants. And then ask God. Yeah. Ask God about it. Wow. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Jesus was very, very clear about adding that little and his righteousness, those little 3 words. Not just seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you. Yeah, there's a lot there. Okay, so that's the question today. Needs versus wants. Is God in the midst of your needs, or is he in the midst of your wants? And are you praying for those needs versus those wants? And when you do pray for them, and God does answer those questions, are you using them in the right way? Okay? Man, it's heavy. Sorry. But it's heavy. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Good little chat today in the midst of the ruins here in Poughkeepsie, New York. All right. We'll see you on the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.